All right, shalom, 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 shalom. First and foremost, want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Chakodash. Giving double honors to the elders and apostles at Great Millstone who taught me this truth. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect. Peace and salutations to the Akim, the brethren out there on the highways and byways, pushing this truth to 100% sincerity. And peace and salutations to the few and sincere sisters who believe in this gospel. So I want to entitle this lesson, Are Multiple Wives Lawful? Right? And I'm entitling the lesson this because of the situation with IUIC where somebody approached one of their camps. I'm not sure which one it was, but somebody, a couple of look like, so-called black women approached their camps. And I guess they asked a question and the speaker said that they were Hebrew Israelites. She was like, oh, yeah, I believe in having multiple wives and all of this. And he was like, no, that's not biblical. What you mean that's not biblical, right? Because I'm about to go through a few scriptures where a man having more than one wife is biblical, is in the scriptures. So to say that having more than one wife is not biblical is just a flat out lie, and you're taken away from the scriptures. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead. Go here and here Revelation 22 and verse 19, and it reads, and it says, and if any man shall take away from the words of this book, of the book of this prophecy, Yahweh shall take away his part out of the book of life and out of the holy city and from the things which are written in this book, right? So multiple wives is in this book. That is biblical. That's in the Bible. So we're not supposed to take away from the book, right? Now, at Great Millstone here, we don't push that men go and get more than one woman. That's not what we do. We say, hey, if you can handle it, you can do what you want to do. A man can, do what he wants to do when it comes to, him and having women, as long as he's not committing adultery, right? But we recommend that you deal with one woman or no woman. You know what I'm saying? But we don't go out here saying that brothers got to go have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 wives, right? That's not what we do, right? But to say that it's not biblical is a falsehood. That's a lie, and that's taken away from the book. And I'm going to go through some scriptures here that is going to prove that, right? Let me go to this first one. And it reads, and it says, all things are lawful for me. This is the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 23. All things are lawful for me, but all things are not expedient. All things are lawful for me, but all things edify not, right? And for the Christians, this doesn't mean that you can do whatever you want to do. It's talking about all things according to the law of Moses are lawful for us to do, right? And within the law of Moses, right, the Mosaic law, multiple wives is in there, right? But it also says, but all things are not expedient. So, certain brothers can handle having 1, 2, maybe even 3 women. Some may have more, but that's that brother's business. Some brothers may only be able to have one. Some brothers may be at the state where they should only just be dealing with one woman, with no women. It all just depends on you and your spirit and what you can, what you can and can't deal with. You know what I'm saying? But it is lawful for a man to have more than one woman, right? And we go here to Exodus chapter 21, and I'm going to start at verse 7, and it says, and if a man sell his daughter to be a maidservant, she shall not go out as the men servants do. If she please not her master, who have betrothed her to himself, then shall he let her be redeemed to sell her unto a strange nation he shall have no power, seeing he hath dealt deceitfully with her. Right? Verse 9, and it says, and if he have betrothed her unto his son, he shall deal with her after the manner of daughters. And this is going into, a man basically selling his daughter. You know what I'm saying? But we're not supposed to sell our daughters to the other nations. We can sell them to each other, as maid servants, or a man to take a daughter as a wife, or Apostle Tahar brings out the example. Let's say you were a poor family, and you needed the money. You could sell your daughter as a maid servant to a more wealthy family, and get some money that way, right? But there were certain laws and stipulations to that, right? But this is the point. In verse 10, it reads, if he take him another wife, her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage shall he not diminish, right? So it says, if he take him another wife, meaning if he has another woman. And there's been plenty of men throughout the scriptures who have had multiple wives. David had multiple wives. Gideon had multiple wives. Solomon has 700 wives and 300 concubines, right? And I'm going to go into David and Solomon here in a second, because people will say that, Solomon, the reason that he went off was because he had multiple women. No, that's not the case. That's not what the scriptures say. We'll go into that here in a second, right? Jacob had 4 wives. You know what I'm saying? The nation of Israel came out of a polygynous relationship, right? Polygyny being a man having more than one wife, and those women only having one man, which is, the husband that they share, right? Because polygamy is more so like, polygamy is kind of like it's closer to polyamory, but polygyny is what the Bible describes, right? So let's go into the account with David. And this is after he committed adultery with Bathsheba. Well, he actually committed 2 offenses, adultery and murder, right? But this is 2 Samuel chapter 12, verse 7. It says, and Nathan said to David, thou art the man. Because Nathan kind of broke down a parable to David, and David got infuriated. But then Nathan was like, well, the person who I'm describing in this parable is you, right? Verse 7, it says, and Nathan said to David, thou art the man. Thus saith the Lord, power of Israel, I anointed thee king over Israel, and I delivered thee out of the hand of Saul. And I gave thee thy master's house, and thy master's wives into thy bosom, and gave thee the house of Israel and of Judah. And if that had been too little, I would moreover such given unto thee such and such things, right? So the Lord gave all of Saul's wives to David. You know what I'm saying? And the Lord said, if that wasn't enough, I would have given you more. So having multiple wives is a biblical concept within the scriptures. It's not, you know what I'm saying? It's not unbiblical, as the dude said from IUIC. And they do this, man. They say these things to appease to the women, especially the women in their congregation, but to also get more women into the congregation, right? Because women spend money too, right? Women buy shit. And one way that you're going to get women into the congregation is you're going to tell them, well, look, hey, you can get you a husband, and he can only deal with you. He can only be your he can only have you as his wife. He can't have this woman and that woman and this woman. You know what I'm saying? That's what they put on you in IUIC, right? Which also, too, I would like to even bet that a lot of those women who are in IUIC ain't in the truth for real. You know what I'm saying? Majority of women that you see out here who claim to be in the truth, they not in the truth. But definitely at IUIC, because it's too many things that they promote in their camp and their congregation that are really to appease particular groups of people, to get them in, to draw them in to the congregation, right? Which that's not, that's not how we're supposed to move and operate. We're supposed to be moving and operating from a standpoint of truth, of giving the truth, and let those who are sincere and are attracted to the truth come in, rather than try to appeal to a bunch of people, by watering down the truth. you know. And this is the account with Solomon. It's the book of 1 Kings chapter 11, starting at verse 1, and it says, "But King Solomon loved many strange women, together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Zidonians, Hittites." Right? Solomon had married a bunch of strange or a bunch of women of other nations. It says, "Of the nations concerning which the Lord said unto the children of Israel, Ye shall not go into them, neither shall they come in unto you. For surely they will turn away your heart after their gods. Solomon clave unto these in love." Right? So Solomon had married particular women, right? And when you look at the women of the Hittites, these were Canaanite women, which we were told not to make marriages with Canaanite women, right? And it says, "Of the nations concerning which the Lord said, Go unto the children of Israel, you shall not go into them, neither shall they come in unto you. For surely they will turn away your heart after their gods. Solomon clave unto these in love. And he had 700 wives, princesses," right? These were women of the nation of Israel, "and 300 concubines, and his wives turned away his heart," right? Because the wives were supposed to be, women who were born of the nation of Israel, and they were supposed to be treated as wives, right? Because, we worship the same God. We worship the same power, you know. But when he clave, as the scriptures say, he clave unto the women of the other nations in love, right? For example, Solomon had married the Pharaoh's daughter, right? And he built her a whole city. You know what I'm saying? Which kind of tells you how he felt about her, right? But he wasn't supposed to do that. I mean, not to say he couldn't do that, but he wasn't supposed to cleave unto her in that type of way, right? And then we were ordered not to marry Canaanite women, because for whatever them Canaanite women had, the Lord knew that they would turn us away from worshiping Him, which is what happened with Solomon. Verse 4 says, "For it came to pass, when Solomon was old, that his wives turned away his heart after other gods, and his heart was not perfect with the Lord his power, as was the heart of David his father. For Solomon went to Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Zidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. And Solomon did evil in the sight of the Lord, and went not fully after the Lord, as did David his father. Then did Solomon build an high place for Chemosh, the abomination of Moab, and the hill that is before Jerusalem, and for Molech, the abomination of the children of Ammon. And likewise did he for all his strange wives, which burnt incense and sacrificed unto their gods, right? But it was not because Solomon had multiple wives, or not because of all of the women that he had, right? There was a commandment that we weren't supposed to make marriages with certain women, right? The Canaanite women, to be exact. And then when it came to the heathen women, women of other gods, we aren't supposed to cleave under them in love. We're supposed to only, Salakia, we're supposed to only have them as concubines, have them as a lesser wife. You don't treat them as the same as a woman that you would treat from the nation of Israel, because these women of these heathen women, they worship other gods, whereas women of the nation of Israel, they're supposed to, we worship Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, and come up knowing the law, statutes, and commandments, right? But all in all, having multiple wives is not a unlawful thing, and it is biblical, as we clearly see here. Men having more than one wife, or more than one wives, or more than one woman, right, is a biblical concept that you can find all throughout the scriptures. Who Samuel's father, he had two wives, right? Gideon, I believe, had multiple women, multiple wives, in captivity too, because they'll say, well, we're not supposed to multiply wives in captivity. You know what I'm saying? Well, Gideon was in captivity and he had more than one woman, right? But yeah, all in all, a man having more than one wife is a biblical concept, right? So, Lord willing, this video lesson was edifying. Giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Chakwadash. Until next time, Shalom.